All right.
Hey there now. Hey Kurt. Welcome to another episode of Comics That Influence.
What's going on, Jake?
What's up? So we're going. This is where we kind of go over. I'm sorry, I'm getting that glare again from my skylight, but I'm we're gonna go over some comics that influence us, and we're gonna discuss everything from the storytelling to the art to the business end to anecdotal stories that we have in our ADD minds that come up. But today I'm going to be going over one of my convention halls. Last time I was at a con, I picked up a run of Swords of Sorrow. I didn't get number 1, but I got 2 through 6. And this seems like a pretty interesting offering from Dynamite Comics because it looks like they're using pretty much every existing character. Some of these are dormant characters, some of these are licensed characters. And I wanted to poke around and see what's going on inside. What do you have today?
I have the other half of Cartoonist Kayfabe's Jim Rugg. Did a Hulk Grand Design, so this is issue 1 of that. Last Comics That Influence episode, I think, was 13. I did Red Room by Ed Piskor. So, yeah, I got some really interesting takes on this. So you're going to go first?
Yes, I'll go first today.
Cool.
And hopefully it won't be so, so I'm
next
trying
week
to,
you'll have that umbrella up on your roof to block out that skylight.
I think I need to go up on my roof this time of day, and I need to put some kind of tarp up there. I think I have to go up there anyway, but
have a look.
Right. So Dynamite Comics is a pretty big independent comic publisher. You and I were just complaining about how there's it's really tough to have a marketplace, and these kind of like mid-sized comic publishers are what we need so much more of. Talking about Dark Horse and Boom Studios and AC Comics, and companies like that. How are they able to survive? How are they able to pay artists? Do these guys work full time? All these are great questions. But just as a consumer, I'm going to flip through these comics, which I bought at a convention. I think I got these for $1 a piece. And I noticed that they have Vampirella, Jennifer Blood, who I don't know too much about, but of course Vampirella is the world famous Warren Comics, Warren Publishing character that everybody seems to have a take on. So let's jump in. Here we have written by Nancy Collins, so it's female written. Illustrated by Dave Acosta, a name I haven't been familiar with, but we'll be checking him out. And the color by Valentina Pinto, and lettered by Erica Schultz. Very interesting that you have a lot of female workers here in the biz, letterers and colorers. Edited by Hannah Elder. Cover art by Billy Tan, and cover colors by Vinicius Andrade. So here we're getting it. This is apparently some kind of vampire tale where we have some like blood sucking here going on. Looks like they're blood sucking some zombies. I don't know if this is like really grabbing my again, I have to like try to get rid of this glare. I don't know if this is really grabbing me, but it sounds like they are like trying to dig into the story. I'm sure they left off on number 1. Here we see a double page spread that were on the famous Hollywood sign. How often do we see that? This is subtitled Undead in LA. So I'm just going to assume like there's a very interesting story going on here. If you read all of the word balloons, there's kind of like a dark tone to all these comics, and panel by panel breakdowns, but nothing really jumping out here. Like you're not seeing any big splashes, or you're not seeing too many like reverse angles, or this angle is a little bit of a down angle. So this is kind of just I would say like maybe a little bit pedestrian storytelling. I'm hoping here that we're going to get into like some real like vampire stuff and some action. Here we see Vampirella is gliding into a cemetery, and she's digging into like a mausoleum. Got these Day of the Dead guys. They look like gangsters or something. They're blowing people's heads away. So I'm not really getting a sense here of the characters. Here, she goes into this hall of mirrors, and she looks into a mirror, and she's seeing Red Sonja, of all people. So she's not billed here on the cover, but again, these Swords of Sorrow comics, I think they're trying to weave a lot of different female characters in. Here I see this big forearm guy. This reminds me of John Carter of Mars and Dejah Thoris. So, maybe she's going in through this mystical chamber here, going back through time. She wakes up and says it was just a nightmare. This might just be like some thin plot fig leaf to try to get us into all these characters that are in different times and different worlds. But yeah, this definitely looks like LA here. I got to give him that. This is the Jennifer Blood character. Do you know anything about Jennifer Blood?
0.
Right. Well, I'm just going to take a wild guess and say that she is a vampire hunter.
That'd be a good guess.
So she comes in here. So here's our first splash page, right? She comes in here, and this guy is garroted. His neck is bleeding out, and he's got all these drugs and things on the table. She's back out here, and these look like these might have been the guys that did it. I'm gonna say that some of these pages are a little sparse to me. I complain a lot about wasted space. And it isn't just that they don't have backgrounds. It's like, maybe they could have, made things bigger, use some different angles. I don't know. Just like, to me, as an art teacher, I would advise a student, like, you do something here, put some clouds in, or so maybe you could have a little more dialogue. Here's a double
sound
page
effects.
flat. Right, sound effects or something. Maybe make these panels bigger, right? Maybe like balance things out. Here's an interesting double page splash ad for Red Sonja and Conan, who Dynamite is definitely capitalizing on. Really nice artwork here. Back together again, huh? Anyway, back to the story. Here we see Jennifer Blood. She's blowing people up, and she's braining these guys. I see a definite kind of like trend here towards real space wasting, and I'm going to be a little more critical here.
Go for it.
I don't like this. Yeah, this to me, this is like a third of a page wasted here, maybe a sixth of a page wasted here. This, show this figure, right? Like, why not move everything up? Like, show the arms and legs, show some shading. There's no backgrounds whatsoever on a double page splash. Come on, that's some like Rob Liefeld stuff. Here, like, this panel is like half empty. So, it looks like an interesting story. I'm not going to fault the writer. She's I like this here. Excuse me, ma'am, do you need a lift? This reminds me of the stories I used to write for Vampironica. This lady gets into a car with a guy. What do you think's gonna happen? Oh, they don't even show it, but to be continued. And now we're already into the ads. So Swords of Sorrow looks like it's an imprint of Dynamite Comics, where there's all of these female leads: Dejah Thoris, Black Sparrow, Lady Zorro, and here's the schedule. So these are the comics that I have here. So let's kind of pick up the pace a little bit. Seeing some ads for TNT, The Last Ship. Maybe I should check that one out. Here we got the news. Here we got Purgatory. She's still sticking around. I thought this was kind of like an adults only character from a while back. Here's Chaos. I don't know how long Purgatory's been around, but limited edition statue. Here's some Shadow comics. I'm going over these ads because I want to see all of these dormant characters that Dynamite is getting the rights to, to publish. Bob's Burgers. This is the TV show that uses Sam Cedar as a voiceover. And here's some nice art for the Spirit. They're bringing the Spirit back out. Interior art by Dan Schade. Anything else here? Yep, Comic Book Legal Defense Fund and Army of Darkness. So they have a lot of irons in the fire over at Dynamite. I should note the year. This came out in 2015. So let's zip through these other ones. All right, now we're in number 5. So this is going to be, I still don't know, they just don't tell you who the characters are. Who is this? Lovely ladies, but who is it? Maybe we'll find out. Looks like the Black Canary, but it's not.
So you don't have issue 1?
No, but let's see if this. I couldn't get issue 1. Let's see if this rundown explains who's in this stories here. Here we go. Yeah, so we're dealing with these characters: Masquerade, Kato, One Shot, Deja Thoris, and Irene Adler. Who's that? Sounds like an old lady from the lunchroom. Vampirella, Jennifer Blood, Black Sparrow. I just said it looks like Black Canary. Red Sonja, Jungle Girl, Panther. So Miss Fury, Lady Rawhide. Yeah, so here we're seeing the some of the characters identified because they're not identified at all in the actual comics that we're reading. Very weird. And by the way, this is all laid out in Helvetica, which I hate. That's a definite no-no. So here, I guess this is like let's see, issue 5 of 6, and so this is going to be Deja Thoris, Irene Adler, Vampirella, Jennifer Blood, Panther, Red Sonja, and Jungle Girl. Although it's not mentioned on the cover.
Seems like a very, very, very confusing mess.
Is that what they call virgin covers, where there's no information, but it has this there, Here's this underworld lady. She's back again. Here we're seeing a great big map. I'm just kind of cutting through here so I don't take up everybody's day. But
I don't know. Yeah, I don't. I've lost complete interest. So I'm sorry.
We're definitely into some. Definitely into some heavy petting here. I think this is written by women, female characters. It might be designed for female readers. I don't know how that worked out, but they're really cramming a lot in, and I'm not sure. Just flipping through this without reading all the dialogue, I'm not sure how it comes across. Here's Panther, which is I think a Frank Frazetta character. You can't hardly see her. She's just like lost in the shuffle.
Nah, she's Golden Age. She's Golden Age.
Oh, she's Golden. Okay.
Yeah, he did. I think 1 or 2 paintings or inks for comics.
And here,
actual comics.
Here, Vampirella has a. Vampirella's apparently dead. She's got a bloody axe through her. I don't know what's going on here. And just to wrap this thing up, Bob's Burgers again. All right, let's wrap this thing up and see if they tie this up into a bow. Again, Gail Simone. So we have all these characters. They're all running around. Now I can't even read the writing. They picked out some script font, which is teeny tiny, and it's impossible to read.
Oh my god.
Here's a nice splash of Panther doing her thing. She's got the leopard spots on a blue background, a purple background. I don't know if that actually appears in nature. So pose downs, Red Sonja. Vampirella is bleeding out with Deja Thoris here. This lady's got swords and guns and all kinds of stuff. So I don't know how I feel about this. It's worth $1, but $1 a piece, but I'm really lost, and I don't know what they were trying to accomplish here. I think the idea is just bringing back all these characters and using them in some kind of story that's slapped together in some kind of like Secret Wars type of storyline.
Yeah, I think
Is
it
that the
has to
lo-
do with all these other titles. I think it is a kind of Crisis on Infinite Earth or what have
Right,
you.
right. Yeah.
So if you're not already bought into the characters and or the artists and writers, you're definitely going to be two clueless old guys like ourselves that are manically flipping through to figure things out. So a big loss on our part.
21, 22, 23. Yeah, so it's 23 pages. It looks like the bad guy that killed Vampirella is now friends with them. And they just kind of clink glasses at the end. And I think everything's fine and dandy. So this is Swords of Sorrow 6 of 6. They were knocking these things out one a month. So kudos to them for having a good production team, meeting all their deadlines, using a lot of old characters. But as far as the story and pulling somebody in, I didn't get it. Just seems like a lot. Some nice art, and not too sure how the story goes. I think they were just like making some soup here, throwing a lot of stuff in a pot and stirring it around, and not too sure how the story goes. I think they were just like making some soup here, throwing a lot of stuff in a pot and stirring it around, and maybe I didn't do justice because I didn't read it ahead of time, but that's what it looks like just flipping through here.
But it's also a state of comic books for the last, I don't know, up teen years, where if you're not getting in at an origins point, hence why every other issue or mini series is basically the reboot of that character, no matter where it's at, and you're not bought into the publisher and the artist and the writer and the whole package, you're lost. And then there are very few entry points. And I've been running into the same thing. I've been picking up stuff more of the time, and I just can't make a connection. I have an initial like response maybe to the art or the style or the character or even the artists themselves because I followed them on Instagram or came across their YouTube channel. But then after that, it becomes this sort of like, you gotta buy in. It's like an investment thing, it's a big investment where it used to be you'd buy a comic book, you take it home, and 13 minutes later, you'd be already through it. And you'd just be like, wow, that was really cool. And then you bag and board it and you stick it, somewhere. And then you might come back to it once you have other issues and it's a rainy Sunday afternoon. So, but
Yeah,
thank you for sharing, Jake.
yeah, no problem. It's people should proceed with proceed at your own peril. If you want to try to collect all 6 of these, I don't know if they put anything out into a trade paperback or whatever, but there it was.
Yeah, and if you are a fan of this sort of sorrows or the characters in there, the writers and stuff, and you've gotten this far in our video, please make a comment and help us.
What are we missing?
Which will help others. Yeah, what are we two old fools missing? We are teachable. I want to repeat, we are teachable and we want to learn. So with that, so let me jump in because I'm very excited to share the other half of Cartoonist Kayfabe, Jim Rugg, who is with Ed Piskor on that biggest YouTube channel that just shares and shares and shares all the love of comics. As I said in my Ed Piskor Red Room review, I'm not a big fan of their art per se, but I want to also give a little bit of clarification on that. In other words, it's like I'm not a Hulk fan. I'm not a Gore fan. I like hip hop, but I don't know if I want to read a comic book about hip hop. So I don't want to come off as too brutally honest, but the reason I'm reviewing this comic is we have touched upon and are inquisitive about the grand design modicum. So Ed Piskor has X-Men Grand Design, and Tom Scioli has Fantastic Four Grand Design, and so gets followed up. With the Hulk and Jim Rugg. So the thing about it is, and I have very limited knowledge only based on what they share, but they're taking Jim. Ed is taking. Gosh, Jim is taking 300 issues of the Incredible Hulk, and is condensing them into, I believe it would ended up being two. Issues that then got a artist edition that's coming out soon, and so on and so forth. So I think the really interesting thing, because I personally do this on my own time in a sort of artist processing, making comics headspace, I will take digital versions of the comics, usually the whole series of like maybe a Golden Age character, and I'll start cutting up panels and then sort of like condensing that into um, a story per se. But it's also just to kind of like edit out the things that maybe aren't as important, that are page fillers. And so I believe that this is what the grand design is made for. I think it's a really of the times idea. It takes all the nostalgia. It also helps younger people gain an access point into the character. Obviously, these three properties are also movie based. So you do have that lean into. I find Jim Rugg's style, and I don't think he would dispute this as a criticism, very graphic design heavy. He's an excellent renderer. He has some phenomenal ballpoint pen sketchbook stuff in a spiral notebook type of thing on his Patreon, and he's shown off before. But I really have to say, as craftsmanship goes, this is a very captivating package. And I said this when it came to Ed Piskor's Red Room. I think one of our responsibilities as creatives nowadays is to support one another. So I don't believe you have to buy every single thing somebody's putting out. But, if you want to have an opinion or get a deeper dive, pick up an issue. I'm a physical purchaser of issues. I can't really make any assessment from a digital copy. But I really do like here. That's this, that one of the things I really do like, and I'm doing myself with water soluble graphite to the pages, is it takes it off of this high contrast white. And so when you do get something that you do want to have white, it really pops out. I mean, even the word balloons are subdued, and it's obvious because, he wants to lean back into the newsprint aging. So
Is this a floppy we're looking at right now?
this is a floppy. So there were two floppies that came out, and then there's a collection that's I think it's on its way and stuff. So, but
Yeah, because when I saw the other Grand Design magazines, they were perfect bound, oversized format, and they were really dense with I think they were packing in the history of hundreds of issues into like these,
300 for the Hulk.
yeah. So this doesn't look so dense. I mean, this reads like a regular comic.
It's
It
very
looks
well
like,
done.
yeah. There's the story just moving along, and it isn't like that other one I saw where there was like tiny panels and really trying to squeeze in a lot.
Here's his ballpoint pen. Very nice rendering. So, I mean, he has all of the skills. And once again, I think the number one best thing about cartoonist kayfabe is they have a passionate, obsessive love affair with comics, and they share it very well on Cartoonist Kayfabe. And I am a big fan, so I'm not going to shy away from being a little bit of a fanboy here. But as I said, I'm not a Marvel fan anymore. Haven't been since late '80s. Hulk never spoke to me as a character. I did love the, I guess, the way they did the Ed Norton Hulk. I thought was really, really well done. I'm also a huge fan of Ed Norton.
Yeah.
So the MCU movie machine has me there, but I'm not running after a Hulk comic or a series of Hulk comics, but I have been reading through this, and I find it educational, but it really does like bring me back to things like Machine Man was one of my favorite uh, mini series I remember picking up. But yeah, I
Yeah,
really
I
don't.
have two of those, so we might cover that in a future episode. But I only have two of them. I think there's two before. So I don't know if
Now, are
I
you
might.
talking the Kirby or the Barry Windsor Smith?
The Barry Windsor Smith, the
Right.
Kirby, I probably have a couple of, but Barry Windsor Smith did an incredible reboot of it, and
Oh,
you know,
very, very.
yeah,
Yeah,
which
maybe we've got to track down. Like, I'll do Kirby or you do Kirby and I'll do Barry, and we just sort of like dueling cameras, flip through and sort of figure that whole out and everything. But
yeah, Machine Man was kind of a spin-off character from Kirby's 2001: A Space
yeah,
Odyssey
yep,
adaptation.
yep.
Yeah, and a lot of interesting. It's really an interesting character. But what Barry Windsor Smith does when he gets a hold of a character like Machine Man or Wolverine, is he just takes it to a whole other visual world. And I remember there was a fight between Machine Man and Iron Man, and there was all this great detail and mechanical stuff getting thrown around. And um, yeah, that's something definitely to come back to. Um, Hulk is Hulk is interesting. I mean, he seems like such a simplistic character, um, but he has lasted the test of time.
That's for sure.
I think it's really important. Whoever's writing Hulk, is going to be the characters around Hulk. Like in the beginning, it was like Rick Jones, and then I don't know who they went to after that. He became a part of the Defenders. Now he's in the Avengers and in the movies. Um, it's always great to have somebody really strong and powerful that can just wreck stuff. There's always kind of like that explosion. There's always that anger, that Hulk smash moment in every story. But I don't know after a while what you would do with it over and over and over and over. Like
Correct.
um, so then they made Hulk is smart. Then he all of a sudden he's got the brains and the power. They do all these kind of variations. Then you have the She-Hulk, which is the female variation. That's an interesting story because Stan Lee heard that CBS was going to invent the She-Hulk when they had licensed the Hulk to CBS, and that was the Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno series. And when that rumor reached Stan Lee, he said, "Oh no, they don't." And they said, let me get somebody to rush out She-Hulk #1, and they didn't even care what the story was or anything. They just needed to make sure that they invented it, and they hit the stands before CBS developed it, because CBS could have, conceivably owned the rights to it all. And so She-Hulk had an inauspicious beginning. It was just kind of like a female clone. I think John Buscema did the art on that. I think it was
Yeah, I mean, here's the cover again.
Yeah, that's the first. That's the
Yep.
first cover right there. And
Yeah, it was a blood transfusion, a car accident and a blood transfusion. And of course, that was a big no-no.
Yeah, what happened in the last year was that they put She-Hulk on TV as a series.
Did you catch any of that?
She-Hulk Attorney at Law. I wouldn't even watch one episode. Why do I want to see She-Hulk Attorney at Law? I want to see She-Hulk smashing things and going into outer space.
Yeah.
So I think it was an instantaneous failure, but I'm not sure.
You don't hear much of it now. There's not much
Ouch.
being said about it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and I could have told you that. It's crazy.
Somebody called Jake. I just have to say, I want to bring, I think this is really methodical. And I believe Hulk is a core connection for Jim to comics as a young kid. But I think one of the really cool things is being able to kind of jump in and make the pullback reference points to the over 300 issues. And the sellability to Marvel to get this done, I think is that's the salesmanship. It's very much like an encyclopedia. I think is what grand design comes down to. I wouldn't be surprised if we would see others bring I would love to see a Doctor Strange. Maybe we should work on one, Jake. But I think there's a real history lesson too that kind of comes through on this. And if you really take a moment and you look at some of the paneling, I feel that the individual, like this, comes off in a very specific time period design, to contrast this, which is it's like Bronze Ages versus Silver Age or something to that, and then bringing things in that have, I think this is a very manga. Let me find this big zapping. Yeah, this one is a very manga where the edges are all jagged because he's being electrocuted by Thor back here. But then the contrast of this down here having, Doctor Strange, you got to give it to him because it's a hell of a playground, 300 issues. And then the methodicness that has to come through and making something cohesive, which I do believe it's very successful. I have to say.
Well, yeah, you want to hit the keys, right? What they call the keys are if you go to a comic book store or a comic book convention and you see a box and it says keys. Those are the key issues where characters are first introduced. Probably the most classic key issue in Marvel Comics is, when Gwen Stacy dies and Peter Parker, in Spider-Man, what is it, 121? Those kind of key issues, they're not only, big sellers, but they're also, turning points or plot points, and, introducing a character. It might not be a big deal then, but the character might go on to greatness later because, they're putting a movie 20 years later.
Right.
So they probably want to hit on the keys on all those Grand Design compilations, and bring out the highlights. Although if they give the creators license to just go pick and choose, that's great, because they can maybe bring something back from the past that was overlooked, or maybe they could put a different spin on it. So
The other thing is I don't know if you really ever got into Scott McCloud's Understanding Comics, but the page layouts have a similar quality to them, and it once again, I feel like the Grand Design model, and at least this is the only one I've gotten into so far, is Jim Rugg's The Hulk. It's a study of storytelling. And obviously, with 300 issues of a one character story arc, if you will, that's pretty damn good for a story. So it just becomes Jim's take on that. But I feel, it just really reads as a Scott McCloud feeling in storytelling, those keys
yeah,
being
if you
put.
check out my panel here, I just pulled the Scott McCloud book off my shelf, and it's just blocked. Okay, so yeah, here's Scott McCloud's The Invisible Art. Pretty thick book. It's good for any comic creator. He's not my style. He's kind of cartoony for me. He's definitely a black and white. Definitely like a champion of black and white comics here. But he goes through a lot of different art history um, lessons, and connections, and graphics, and it gets pretty intense, into history, and comics, and different presentation styles. So there's definitely a lot here. I should probably take
It's
another
a
look in this
must.
book.
It's
Yeah,
a
I should.
must. I remember when I was teaching comics at D'Antoni Art Center, towards the end, this book came out, and I made all of my students, 36 of them, get a copy. And we really did devour it. And then he came to Philly for whatever they call PhillyCon. It's not PhillyCon, whatever it is, that big comic book convention. And so a bunch of us as students, we went up and was able to sit in on a lecture for him. And it was very impactful. So if any of you out there are comic book creators and you haven't dive into it, I feel it's a must. It's only going to add to your arsenal of becoming an excellent storyteller in the form of a comic book, if you will. So, but
Right.
that's all I have. I don't want to keep everybody too long. We want to just bring these things to an attention and allow you to get a copy of it or not. I just want to keep telling everybody we've got a community tab. We also have comments. I'm on our YouTube site every day, sometimes throughout the day, kicking back and forth. We have created this channel to document our journey in making Turbo Pit Fighter, a sci-fi comic that we're going to have a teaser coming out very, very soon. And we would also invite you as a creator or a collector to jump in and give us a shout out and corrections. We're not afraid of being corrected, and we're very teachable, and we want to learn. So with that being said, Jake, I am good for this episode of Comics That Influence Us. You got anything to leave these kids with when we leave?
No, just feel free to suggest anything else that you want us to cover, and we're an open book. So check out our other stream and be on the lookout. At some point, it's unannounced, but in the future, we're going to be releasing our B Movie She Devil series, which is going to be comics, which is going to be exploitation movies inside of comics. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Cool. All right, Jake, I'll see you next Sunday.
Peace, man.